What's up, everyone? Bradley Jack Design here, and we're here with another design breakdown. So you guys said on Twitter you wanted this one. This is my Obi April graphic I made last year after Obi had an amazing April to end the season for the Knicks. So I'm gonna hop right in here and show you what it took to make this design. There's a lot going on, but a lot of it is composition as to why this works so well. So, we've got a lot going on. We've got 3 photos of Obi that are cut out. So you got a little bit of a hierarchy here. Big guy, middle guy, smaller guy in the back. Then we've got just a collage of photos for a little bit of contrast from the background to break up between the background and the foreground. A little Knicks logo. Got his jersey here, name, Toppin, and then a little just extra areas to add a little bit of contrast with some color. And then this nice little calendar down here. So let's just turn all the layers off and see what happens. And hopefully I don't have layers down here that were turned off that don't need to be turned on, because I will not know. And then we'll turn them on for no reason. All right, so here's nothing. So it starts off with just sort of this background. I really like how yellows and oranges, when you add a layer multiplied on top, I just really like the color that it gives you. It usually gives you this nice, rich, orangish, yellowish color. So I multiplied it from the top and then the bottom. And this here you can see is clipped. So this basically just gives us a little bit of a floor. And then I clipped to that floor this little lighting layer with a little bit of a levels layer on top of it, just to give a little bit of a shadow, a little bit of a spotlight to where that is. Let's see what we've got going on here. So I know back then, and I like to do it now, using the logo huge as cropped off the side as textures, something that you can do in a design that turns out really nice most of the time. So I have this nudged up to the very top where it matches where the top of the Knicks logo is, and then this is almost over to the side, but I didn't want it to hit the edge here. It didn't match up, so just a little bit off to the edge. Let's see what we have. Let's see what we got going on here. Just a slight little texture set to multiply, and then these are all of the collage images that are in the background. These are just squares with photos in them, but we're gonna go to those later because I added those in after the fact. Let's see what we got going on here. Okay, let's add in some of these photos. So we've got Obi dunking here. I'll go into that in a little bit. See what some of these layers are, because I don't have them labeled. You can see this is for me. I don't have any of this stuff labeled. We got Obi dunking here. Turn that on. And then Obi in the front. Okay. So we'll start here. So I've got this photo of Obi. Turn some layers off. Let's go in here. So I think I spent a lot of time editing this photo of Obi, which is where we got to where I am. So let's go through that a little bit, because there's a ton going on here. And I probably did some of this in the other composition, but then I saved it to a smart object. I don't know why I would have done that though, because there's nothing applied to this. Oh well. Okay, so we've got, this is the photo of Obi. This is the base photo of Obi. So, that was a problem. No, we're good. Okay, so I did some usual adjustments I do to all of my stuff using my yellow fix action, and then a little layer of color on top. So these are the initial edits. So then I brightened it up a bit, brightened it up a little bit more. So these are just 2 curves layers. Do I have that? Yeah.
Curves.
So these are just 2 curves layers with a blend if on it. The blend if is basically so it's only applying to the darks. So it's just brightening up the darks a little bit. This is, I think, the same. Yeah, just a little bit more of not just the darks, but also just the darks. Hue and saturation layer, which is doing his eyeballs. So this is making his eyeballs whiter, and these curves layers are going to brighten his eyeballs then. And I think I went in with this last one, yeah, and sort of brightened up the bottom of his eyes. Another curves layer. Basically just like these little bit of curves layers to just brighten things up just a little bit. And this is brightening up just the highlights then. Then I have a selective color layer, which is making everything a little bit more orange, except on a lot of his skin because I didn't want it to be too orange. I wanted his skin to be a normal color. We have another selective color, which is just brightening up the orange on his jersey, which you can see here, selected. Hue and saturation layer, and look, this is huge. This is something beginner designers or younger designers need to pay attention to when you're making a design. And it varies depending on what the final is going to be. But the difference between this and this is huge. So what this layer is this is a hue and saturation layer where I took the color picker here and just picked inside the jersey and then painted in the jersey everywhere around to make the jersey white. And the reason you want to do that is, one, if you look at this now, there's a ton of contrast between his skin, the orange, the ball, the blue, and his jersey. When I don't have this, it's muted. And it's just really yellow. And I can do this. This is going to pop. I'll say that, see, this is going to pop a lot more on a background because we desaturated it. And then in your final composition, you can go back in and add color back into it based on the environment. So if he is in a stadium and like the orange is reflecting off of his jersey or it's yellow, you can add that back in. Then a hue and saturation layer because I didn't think his feet and the ball were popping enough. So I added a hue and saturation layer and literally just boosted the saturation up. And then I have a brightness and contrast because I wanted his tattoos to have a little bit more contrast. So I just painted on his arms where his tattoos are. And then another selective color layer, which is probably adding to the yellows. What is this? Hold on, what is this doing? Blues? Oh no, what I did was I went to the whites and I made them a little bit more blue and a little bit more yellow. So I thought it was a little bit too cold. So I did this to make it a little bit more natural. I added a little bit of yellow back into it and took away a little bit of cyan. And then what are these? Oh, these are his eyes. So I colored his eyes in a little bit more. Oh, and I did them real fancy. So what I did with this is I took a brush and I drew around his eyeball and like a starburst. So you can see if I turn these on and zoom in, you can see these little line strokes off and on. It's basically I was painting him like a new iris, which I thought was fun to do. Then what do we have here? What is this? What's this layer, everybody? Anybody? Can you see what it's doing? I can't. I literally don't know where this is. Oh, they're on his eyes. So this looks weird. So then I added darker pupils back in, and then I probably added highlights on top of it. Yep, then I added highlights back to it. So basically I reconstructed how his eyes look. And then we got this final piece. So I'm not going to save that. So then we get this. Then I got a gradient map on top of that, which I put on all the other images as well. And then just a little bit of a rim light, which is just a white layer with this layer feathered. And it's probably contracted like 1 or 2 pixels. But I did that for all of these. Adding this gradient map, to me, it sort of mutes the contrast. Basically, I do that. If I ever want anything to look like Tyson Beck, I kind of do that. Because I think that's kind of how he might do that. Basically, it sort of mutes everything out, but it gives it this interesting tone. So I did that on all of these. And I'm pretty sure I edited the photos of all of these the same. What is this? Oh, I added a shadow here and cut him off because this is where the calendar goes. So let me add that back in just real quick. Where's the calendar? Did I actually label it? I actually labeled it. Look at that. So let's add the calendar back in. So this is just like, I don't know, rectangles. Yeah, they're just rectangles that I made into perfect squares because I wanted it to be even. And I added the logos based on what teams they were playing. You know, added some squares to it. Those are probably the same squares with strokes on them. I don't know what this layer is. Oh, that's fun. It's nothing. I have this little stock image that's like this grid. So I added a little bit of grid because it's a calendar. And then I added all of the points and the days of the week. So pretty standard. And I think the logos are set to like overlay at 50%. So they're just sort of faded in the background. But then I clipped this photo so it looked like he was stepping over it. So that's what I wanted to do with that. Let's get rid of the calendar now. I'm just going to add these back in. These are just little, areas of black around the composition. What font is this? Using Refaline. I thought it was a nice handwritten font that wasn't too repeating of what it's not like Sign Painter or something like that I've done. Oh, and then I added points to the bottom in black. This all flows well, it contrasts well, it's different. There's a lot of contrast between this font, which is this Madrone, Craw Modern. So there's contrast with the type, the color, and the background. I thought it all went really well. And this blue contrasts this orange pretty well as well. So let's go to this dunk graphic. So whenever I'm doing anything with a net and hoop or backboard, I do this. So I've got one layer. It's gone. Here we go. So I've got this. This is just a normal layer set to nothing. I usually put a layer behind it, which is set to screen, which is going to add back in any of the glass. And it's behind it. And that is a blend if, where if the current layer is bright, I got rid of it. Why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know why there's a blend if on that. I think it covered over from this one, because this is a layer set to normal, and then I got rid of anything that's dark, so it's not that. So this is adding in just like a little bit of shadow detail behind here, and it's adding in a little bit more detail behind the net, because without these, the net is cut out. So then we add in the whites of the net, and then behind it we add in the darks, and you can see it's not perfect. Like it's got these here. Like I should probably go in here and take the current layer like that, so it gets rid of some of the stuff in the background. But you can see his net is there, and I might have done something so it didn't matter in the end. Then I added this little light behind Obi. What is this? This is just like a little optical flare. I added behind him, which you can't really see now, but it contrasts with the photos. So we'll show that later. And then this Obi photo, let's see what I did with this one. This is just a cutout layer. Oh man, look at this. Look at all this stuff I did. So I did the same stuff with the eyeballs up here. This is all eyeball stuff. And this is the hue and saturation layer, getting rid of the orange tint on the net, which you can see here, which adds a lot of contrast, color contrast. So I would have done the exact same color stuff here. So, these are the first initial edits. So it's really dark still. Brightened it, brightened it, brightened it. Brightened up his face. Selective color on the rim. Selective color on the ball. Hue and saturation layer probably on his eyes. Hue and saturation layer, what is this doing? Oh, on his feet. To brighten the feet up. And these are probably the same exact layers on the other one. I just copied it over here. Selective color, hue and saturation. You see the desaturating here just does a ton for the photo. So always desaturate your jerseys to make them white. So all these jerseys are the same color. That's why I did that too. I wanted them to all be the exact same color. And if you turn it white, whether you were in a blue environment or an orange environment, I wanted these all to somewhat match. And that's what a lot of those layers were for intentionally. So we've got that. So we've got this composition. We've got Obi in the front with the calendar. That's the main focal point. Obi in the back here. Ain't no stopping, Obi Toppin. And then Obi up here on the side. So I just like this little triangle composition we've got going on. Then we just have a photo of his jersey. This is just like someone's jersey they were trying to sell. And I just took that, tilted it this way. I thought it added a little bit of contrast, filled in this white space. And we have white space still, but it filled in this space appropriately. And I have this. It's just, I have a blend if on it just because it gets rid of the edge. So I don't actually have to cut it out. I just cut it out to here, and then I move all this darkness down. So it looks like this. But then if you blend if, you can just hold down Option to split these up and drag it down. You don't need to cut out the name because it's dark. You just have the whites showing up later. I think I used the same spark thing behind this guy. And then did I do it to the other Obi? Yeah. So I have that same spark, the same little lighting thing behind each of them, just to add a little bit of a flare. because it is a flare. What else we got here? What's this? Oh, I know what this is. No, I don't. Yes, I do. This is nothing. This is layer. Okay, it's nothing. Great. What's group 9? Oh, I took a screenshot of a tweet from Bleacher Report, just set it to screen so it's only the whites, and then I added it back. I basically just put a black, I added it back at normal basically so you could see the Bleacher Report logo. So that wasn't screened. Tossed a Knicks logo up here, and then let's add all of these back in. So the cool thing about this photo is it's actually the photo of the dunk. So I wanted it to be a part of the collage then. So it's not just this collage, it's a collage that also interacts with the images in the front that are popping out. And I think I did that for both of the images, but I'm not sure. But this is just sort of a collage of just random images from April of Obi playing. I just sized them differently to make it look interesting. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just what I had on there. Then I added Tibbs. So we got Tibbs here. I gave him a white face with clown face paint on it. This is just a simple
Radiant Man.
to make his face white, and then I painted on it with a little sad clown face. And I blurred it so you can't really. Oh no, this is actually the background of this image. So this Tibbs is actually, I think, in the background of this image. So let's take a look at that real quick. Yeah, so he's in the background. So again, it's tying in the actual backgrounds from the photo to the collage, but they also pair perfectly with the front. So it's like, oh, let's just put him back there and let's just put X's across his face and give him a clown face, because if you're an Obi Toppin fan, you hate the way that he has coached him because he hasn't used him appropriately. So that's really the whole composition, the whole kit and caboodle there. I then added a color lookup, and this is teal. This is just the regular teal orange plus contrast. And what it's doing is it's muting the tones a little bit, adding a little bit of contrast. And then I added a 3-strip look on top of that. And I think I did that because Garrett Little told me to use, is that 2-strip or 3-strip? 3-strip. I have that set to normal at 42%. Just because he scored 42 points. I think is probably why I did that. And it just really makes the oranges, they're deep and vibrant. It makes the blues deep and vibrant. And this is my logo at the bottom. Oh, so I took his feet away. And apparently changed the A in the April over here. So I originally had his feet in the background, but I don't think I liked it, so I got rid of it. So then what I did was I turned this all into one layer, and I did some Final Camera Raw, which is just adding a little bit of contrast. You can see the numbers here. Did some curve details, added some sharpening, and then I did some color grading. Midtones and shadows I made more orange. Here I can turn this off and on. You can see how, I can see on my screen at least, it's really red. I turn this on, the midtones and shadows, it makes things a little bit more orange, and then the highlights, it turns blue a little bit. Effects, I probably added a little bit of grain. And calibration, I played around with here. This is a fun thing you can do at the end of your compositions, is play around with the colors, because it started like this, which is really yellow, but then we tweaked the reds and the greens and the blues to make it a much deeper orange down here. It adds a lot more red to it, and I liked how that looked. So this is the final Obi April graphic. And as we see, my computer's hating what is going on right now. There we go. Oh, I moved something. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, I'm going to try and do these a little bit more. So let me know if you want to see any other breakdowns. And I'll try to get more breakdowns of just work I generally do up on my YouTube channel. If you want to see a specific breakdown, let me know. Just tweet at me or something. But I'll see you guys next time.